Welcome, friends. And this episode of the Grieving Nurse podcast, I'm going to talk about if you haven't lost a loved one and you have a friend or family member who's lost a loved one, what to say to that person, how to help them through it. And also, if you are the person who is grieving and who has lost a loved one, I'm going to teach you how you can have others support you better. So, welcome back, friends. And this episode, we are going to be covering what not to say at a funeral, prayer service, wake, or gathering after a loved one has died. So, a lot of times we go to these events and we want to say things that are comforting, and so many of us feel awkward around death, right? Like, we know that it's bad. We don't want to make the person feel worse. We want to say something, but we really don't know what to say. And so then we go and we really don't have a plan. And then we're kind of scrambling to be like, and then it's your turn in line, right? So you kind of give them a hug and like, oh, like, I'm sorry. Like, if there's anything you need, let me know, right? That's a pretty common go-to one. And I'm not saying that is bad, right? Like, that's fine. But when we put that out there, it makes the person who's grieving feel like, oh, if I need help, I have to reach out for it. And grief is so exhausting. It is painful, it is exhausting, and the last thing you want to do is be a burden. And so you don't want to reach out to anybody, even if you are struggling. And so what I know you mean well when you say those things. I know that's what people are coming from a good place, right? Like I know that. However, it makes the other person feel pushed away, isolated, lonely, and like it's the ball's in their court, right? And they're too tired to pick up the ball. They're too tired to even look at the ball. And so that's what I want to talk about today is just some things not to say and then kind of give a replacement of what to say. So, pretty common ones that people say are, what do you need? How can I help? If there's anything you need, let me know. They're in a better place, right? They wouldn't want you to be sad. They would want you to go on with life. How do you feel? How are you doing? All of those things are very they're questions that make the person who's in grief like they have to respond, right? Like it's not offering anything to them. It's having them have to give back a response. And a lot of times, again, I know that everybody means well when they say these things. I really do. A lot of times, though, the reason we say these things is because we ourselves are uncomfortable. We ourselves don't know how to feel or we don't know what to do, right? So we're looking to the person who's grieving to be like, I don't know, like, how are you doing? Like, how do you feel? What do you need? Right? And that person is just like, oh man, like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I feel horrible. Right? I feel horrible. But they're not going to say it because it doesn't feel socially acceptable to say that. You just say, fine, I'm doing okay. It's been okay, even though it hasn't been. All right. And so, what you can do instead is when you talk to this person, some people like to hear that I'm sorry and others don't. For me, it never really bothered me because I know that people are sorry. I know that people are like, I'm sorry. I don't even know what to do right now for you, right? And like even if you say that, that is more helpful than saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. What do you need?" Right? Because it places a burden on the person. So be aware of how you are posing the questions and how if you're putting out a question instead of just offering something. So instead of saying, what do you need? Say, you can, and again, we have technology now, so you can text, you can call and leave a voicemail, you can email them, right? Like, I mean, like, there's a million ways to communicate with people now. It doesn't have to be face to face. So you can just even like drop a text and be like, I am so sorry that this is happening. I'm so sorry that you're in pain. Like, can I bring over or state I can bring over food at Monday at 2 p.m., right? Like, just something as simple as that lets that person know that, oh, good, like I don't have to think of supper on Monday. Okay, so like stating specifically what you want to do to help, and I'll give more examples of things that you can list off to this person, or things, a little list of things you can pick from that can fit in your wheelhouse of things that you can do, right? Because we also don't want to promise things and then not deliver, or we ourselves, like, we don't want to take on all these things all the time, right? Like there's been times in my life where I have multiple people grieving at a time. And so I'm like, oh, I should make a meal for them. And I should make a meal for them. And oh, I can go do this for them to help them. Like, right. And like, then I just get to the point where like I'm frazzled and I'm like putting all this stress on myself to uphold these things, right? So I want to give you a list of things that are options to do that are helpful for not only somebody who's grieving, but gives you a wide variety of things you can pick from that fit in your lifestyle that you can help with. So, going back to things to say though. So a lot of times people are like, well, like they're in a better place, right? They're in a better place. And again, maybe, but that doesn't feel helpful because we're not in a good place. We are suffering. We are hurting. And so instead, I want to offer just saying something like, this really sucks, and I'm sorry that you're suffering. Or just, this really sucks. And, if you're in person, if you can give the person a hug or just like a hand on the shoulder, um, like meet them again where they're at with what they want, if they want a hug or anything like that. And so just saying this really sucks feels like you have somebody there with you instead of you're isolated over in a corner in a room of everybody else on the other side and you don't know how to reach to them. When somebody walks up and says, this sucks, it makes you feel like you have somebody over in your corner of the room with you. So another thing that you can say, like people say, like, well, they wouldn't want you to be sad. Oh, it's okay. They wouldn't want you to be sad. But you are sad, right? Like this person died. It is sad. And so instead you can say, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel like shit right now. Like I'm here if you want to talk. And also like saying, how do you feel? Right? Like people are always like, oh, how do you feel? Like, well, you feel shitty. Okay. Like, again, you don't feel good. But our go-to move is to say, fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Life's fine. I'm managing. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. Instead of saying, how do you feel? You just be like, this sucks. This sucks. Like I'm sure you're feeling incredibly sad right now. It might even be helpful to be like, it's okay to feel different emotions, right? Like because people, because you do, right? When somebody dies, if it's especially when we're like the person has been suffering, maybe with cancer, maybe they had Alzheimer's, and you're to a point where like they passed away. You're still sad, but you've been grieving this along the way. And so to say like, oh, like this sucks. I'm so sorry that they died, right? Like I'm sure that you also feel other emotions, right? And just allow them that space to like be like, yeah, I do. Like I feel sad, but like I'm glad they're not suffering anymore. Like it just gives them that space to be able to communicate that out loud. When you ask, how are you doing, right? Maybe, especially if it's a closer friend, somebody that you know, give them a scale to rate their day. Be like, one being the worst day ever, five being a decent day for what it is. Like, where are you at right now? Like, I'm thinking of you today. If it's somebody who's not as close, right? Because there's also a fine line where if I have a neighbor and I've talked to him two times and all of a sudden I found out they had a child pass away. Like like, we're all affected when kids die. And so I would be devastated. I would feel so bad. I would want to do something to help. But it might not be helpful for me, who barely has talked to this person, to be like, oh, like, can you rate like, how was your day today? Like, is it really bad? Or are you like doing okay? Like, what do you want me to do for you? Right? Like, there's a time and a place. But what I could offer is, hey, I'm thinking of you today. I'm gonna bring by a meal at this place and time. Like, does that work for you? Okay. And be like, I'm just gonna set it outside your door for you to grab, right? Because another thing too is that when you're grieving, a lot of times you don't want to be around people. Sometimes you do want to be around people and it's helpful. And then other times, like, you don't want to see or talk to anybody. And even responding to a text message feels heavy and hard. And so if somebody brought food and they just like set it in my garage, like, I really appreciated that. If somebody just sent a text and was like, I'm thinking of you today, like, that helped. And it wasn't even to do anything. It was just like, like, I'm not alone. Okay. Like, I'm not alone. And that's the overall theme that I want people that who are grieving, that have lost somebody, like, to not feel so alone. So I want to give you guys specific things that you can offer to help with as well. I kind of want to give you a plethora of ideas to pick from. So one beautiful tool that I have found, and I'm sure there's other ones out there now. When my mom died, especially, and I think people have used this for me also when I've had a baby. It's Meal Train. And so what it does is it gives you set up an account for this person, and then you can share it with other friends and family members. And so that way, when you go to bring a meal, other people can see, oh, this person brought lasagna on Tuesday for supper, so I'm not going to bring lasagna or spaghetti. I'm going to bring, um, I don't know. I can't even think right now. Something delicious that doesn't have that. I'm gonna bring baked chicken with rice and a vegetable. Okay, like something different, right? So that way they're not getting 500 lasagnas or like a plethora of things. It also shows like the lineup, so then you can see like, okay, they've had two pretty hearty meals. I'm just gonna bring some sandwiches, some sandwich stuff. Okay. Also, it's helpful if you know what day like prayer service, funeral type things are. So that day it can be more of like a grab and go meal, like sandwiches or something like that, or a meat and cheese tray. So then they can like, because you're busy and you're trying to get ready, but you also like don't want to have the time to make the food, something that's quick and can stay in the fridge. And so I have found that Meal Train is a very helpful setup, and then you can share it with others. And it helps that also if there's food allergies, like all that is put in there. It shows in there where you can, like, the person can put in there, like just leave on the porch or leave in the garage on the freezer, right? Like it can put kind of where they want the food brought to. And so that is also helpful. So they don't have to constantly be bombarded with people, again, trying to be very helpful, but it gets overwhelming because it's all at once. And then, yeah, it just really helps space out the food. I know, when my cousin died, he was 15, and there, of course, people all over wanted to help, and brought food, so much food. And again, it was so wonderful, so helpful. People were so kind, but they brought so much lasagna. Like, my one of his sisters, like, she still can't really eat lasagna because it just reminds her of that time and how much there was in the overabundance. I think they had frozen some and they were eating it for months afterwards. Like, it was just, again, so kind. But you want it to be helpful, not overwhelming and bombarding. So Meal Train is a great app/website for that. So that is an option. Another option would be, if you are far away, to mail a gift card for, gas, for Walmart, for groceries, for Target. So like, and for any, basically anything, right? You can give a gift card for. So that way that person knows like, oh, like this is a way to help. Okay. Another thing you could do is mow the lawn for them or clear off their sidewalk if there's snow, if it's winter time. Offer to be like, hey, I want to do your laundry for the next 2 weeks. Um, can we set up a date and time where I can just pick it up and drop it? Like you can even put the dirty clothes basket outside or in the garage, right? Like I'm gonna be coming on Tuesday and Friday at this time. Like set out your your baskets of clothes. I will grab them and I'll bring them back Friday at this time, folded, and then I'll grab the next dirty loads. Okay. So like just ways that like again, you don't people when they're grieving, they don't necessarily want to have somebody in their house doing laundry for them. Or even if you're like, I'll fold all your clothes. If you just want to set the clothes out, like I will fold them and I'll bring them back in an hour. Okay. Like ways that you can help, but not be intrusive on space. Um, so that's one option, that can be simple or simplified and helpful as well. Also, again, just phone call or text. And like I said, when I was in very hard grief days, if somebody was calling me, even if it was my brother or sister who also went through the loss of my parents, I didn't answer. Because I couldn't deal with it. I didn't want to talk about it. Like, I just didn't have the energy. And so phone calls are good, but even if they don't answer, you can just be like, "Hey, I just was checking in. I was thinking about you." Right? Like again, don't put the "How are you doing?" because they're not doing fine. They're they're trying to survive and they'll just tell you fine or good. So just say, "Hey, I was just calling or I'm just texting to say I'm thinking about you." Okay? And it can be as simple as that. Another thing, again, is to pick up groceries for somebody or even say, for them to order the groceries online and be like, just let me know what your pickup time is. I can go run and get them, right? Or be like, what are some of your favorite things? Another thing you can do, this was a huge one that helped with us, was people brought paper products over. We had an abundance of paper plates, plastic forks, knives, spoons, paper bowls, paper towels, toilet paper, all of those things that are helpful. Because again, like you don't want to be doing the dishes. And and sometimes you have people have family members there, like when both my parents died, we did have a lot of family members there, and so they would kind of do the dishes off and on, but it was very helpful when we didn't have to do dishes, where it was just like, nope, just use the paper plates, like throw everything away. We don't have to deal with it. Okay. And then another one too that I don't know, I think my mom always would do this is mailing a card with a book of stamps because there's so many thank you cards that get mailed out afterwards that a book of stamps is helpful because stamps can be expensive. And so just putting a book or two of stamps in with your bereavement card. And also another thing that's beneficial is to put on there, um, no thank you needed, right? Just to let them know, like, you don't have to write a thank you to me. I know that you got it. I know that you appreciate it, right? Like, if you're comfortable with that, if you do want the thank you just to know, like, hey, you got these, like, that's fine too. You don't have to put that on there. But again, that was just something that I did find helpful. And I think we ended up probably writing a thank you for the people that put that anyway. But, it is a nice gesture to just be like, you don't need to thank me. So those are a variety of things that you can do to help, whether you're near or far. And for those of you that are grieving, I just want you to remember that people, again, are trying to be helpful. I know that it is not helpful, and it really feels sometimes hurtful rather than helpful. But I want you to kind of take that list and I want you to be able to give it to people as well. For the people that are like, oh, how are you doing? What can I do to help? I want you to take this list and be like, here's some ideas. Okay. Like, here's some ideas that you can use to help me right now. And just pick from this list or send them the whole list or be like, we need meals right now, right? I don't want to cook. I need meals. Please look into the meal train app and arrange that for me. Okay? Because people, again, people do want to help. I really don't think people don't say that with the intention of not to help behind it. They do want to help. They just don't know how. And so I hope that this list of options gives you something to offer people so you don't have to be like, I'm fine. I don't know what I need. We're managing, right? Like take this list and please just forward it to them, send it to them, right? Be like, I could use my driveway shoveled or cleared off every morning by 8 because the kids have to get on the bus, right? Like, and again, you know that it's not going to be forever. Maybe just be like, over the next 2 weeks, if you could take care of that. Or maybe you want to even say like the next 3 days. Because we also are worried that we're a burden on other people. And so I would just like say to that also, like, just be honest with the person. Be like, I really could use this for the next week. If it's too much, like, please let me know. And I will ask, like, if you could just even do 2 days, please just let me know and I'll find somebody else, right? Like, just be honest. And I think that really goes a long way on both sides, both the person who's trying to support the person who's grieving and for the person who's grieving. If we are just honest during this time, we do get the help that we need and we allow others to help us as well. So I hope you guys have the very best possible day that you can, and I am praying for you.